Welcome to the 5-7 podcast. I'm your host, Pri, and I'd like to wish all of you guys out there a happy Father's Day. Well, all you fathers and all of the men that are feeling that fatherhood role. You are all very important. And if you are a dad and you're not paying child support and you're not feeling that childhood or that fatherhood role, you can go fuck yourself. So I am going to start off with a few articles that I have. They're from the Chicago Sun-Times and Fox News. And today it's going to be about gun violence. Now, I live in Chicago, not in Chicago, I live in the Chicagoland area, so I live in the suburbs outside of Chicago. So we are always getting the news on what is going on in Chicago. Now, it's important for people to understand that a lot of this crime, a lot of these murders happen in, specific areas. So it's not all of Chicago, and Chicago is a gigantic place. So I have 4 articles from the Chicago Sun-Times. All 4 of these incidents happened this weekend, and there's something that I want to talk about after I read the articles. And, we can kind of dive into gun control a little bit. So here we go. A 27-year-old woman was shot to death Sunday in Little Village on the southwest side. Karina Avila was a passenger in a vehicle traveling about 12:54 a.m. in the area of the 2600 block of South St. Louis Avenue when someone unleashed gunfire and struck her in the head, Chicago Police and Cook County Medical Examiner's offices said. The female driver drove about a mile away to a home in the 4100 block of West 25th Street where paramedics responded, authorities said. Avila was pronounced on the scene. The driver told officers she didn't know where the shots came from, authorities said. An autopsy conducted Sunday confirmed that Avila of Galewood died from a gunshot wound to the head. Her death has been ruled a homicide, according to the medical examiner. No one is in custody as area central detectives investigate. That is story number 1. Number 2. A 17-year-old boy was wounded in a shooting Sunday in Lawndale. He was walking about 2:36 a.m. in the 3100 block of West Douglas Boulevard when someone came up to him from behind and asked him his gang affiliation. Chicago police said the person opened fire, striking the teen 3 times in the leg. The teen was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital where his condition was stabilized. The shooter fled, and the boy didn't see his face or gather a description. No one is in custody as area central detectives investigate. Story number 3. A 34-year-old man was shot and killed Sunday in Calumet Heights, police said. Alfonso LaFlore was on the sidewalk about 2:39 a.m. outside an establishment in the 8900 block of South Stony Island Avenue when someone in a passing black Chevrolet Malibu opened fire, Chicago Police and Cook County Medical Examiner's offices said. LaFlore of Inglewood was struck multiple times and was pronounced on the scene. Officers surrounded an area just outside the new dating game lounge and marked multiple shell casings on the street. Witnesses have been uncooperative with investigators, police said. No arrests have been reported. That was story number 3. Story number 4. A 23-year-old woman was shot in the finger Sunday in Rosemore on the south side. She was on a porch with a group of people about 1:18 a.m. in the 10500 block of South Edbrook Avenue when someone in a passing gray vehicle opened fire, Chicago police said. The woman refused medical treatment. Officials don't know if she was the intended target. No one is in custody as area south detectives investigate. Now, when you listen to all of these stories, they all have somewhat all of a similar type of a situation. Somebody rolls up in a vehicle, or someone comes up from behind somebody. Nobody knows who they are. And they're shooting at people. Okay, whether it's because of gangs or what have you. What is important here is that what do gun laws have to do with these type of people? Now, the type of people that go to the gun store and buy weapons are people that are A, have a Floyd card, which I think is necessary, and B, have a concealed carry license. Now, these type of people who have to go through the Floyd process and have to go through the concealed carry process are not the type of people that are running around at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, shooting people randomly. This isn't, or maybe these not randomly, but or shooting at other gang members. Gangs they don't go to the gun store to buy weapons to go and do drive-bys. I don't know. What gun laws could do to prevent that, and it's not gun laws that need to be changed or enacted. What needs to be enacted is more money into the education system so that these types of kids, when they're young, can learn that this type of behavior is unacceptable. And this isn't the kind of stuff that you want to do. And that gangs are no good. And that gangs, you don't want to have anything to do with them because, point blank, they're no good. It won't serve you any kind of purpose. Yeah, I get it that these guys, they prey on kids that don't have a dad at home. Mom's working, probably 2 jobs. And these kids need a father figure, And, it comes down on dudes too. If you're having sex with women and you get a woman pregnant, it is your responsibility from that day forward to be a father to that child. Now, if you're man enough to to do these types of things with women, to go out there and do these acts, then you should be man enough to take care of these kids. And if these men can start taking care of these kids and give them something to look up to, they won't be looking towards these gangs. So I named 2 things that need to be done. These guys that are leaving these women, high and dry, need to step up and being father figure to these kids. And these kids need to find more value in school. And the Chicago public school system needs to do that. They need to put out information to these kids that they make them want to go to school so that they're willing to learn or want to learn. As of right now, kids want to grow up and be a rapper or a movie star or a professional athlete. And it's someone who makes, a ton of money so that they can, have this lavish lifestyle. And we need to teach these kids that, the people that are able to do that are, like 1 in a million, making it, playing the Chicago Bulls onto the Chicago Bulls basketball team. The probability of that happening is really, really low for a lot of people. And the people who make it, to that level, they have, there's something special about them. But just because you're not a professional basketball player doesn't mean that there's not something special about you. You could be an engineer or a fighter or something, because these people have a lot of value in society. So that's my 2 cents on not gun laws, but education for kids, and it has to start from the bottom and work its way up. So I have another story here that I got from Fox News, and what it's about, it's about the shooting that happened in Virginia Beach, and there was a woman that wanted to carry a pistol to work because she was worried about something happening. And this brings up another question: should employees of federal buildings be able to conceal carry if they're employees of the federal government? Now, there are laws that you're not allowed to carry concealed into a federal building. So nobody can carry into a federal building unless you're a police officer or I would imagine a working at some kind of federal law enforcement or local law enforcement capacity. So here's the story from Fox News. Former DEA Special Agent David Katz breaks down the details of a deadly shooting in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The night before, Kate Nixon and 11 others were murdered by a disgruntled coworker, the decade-long Virginia Beach city employee talked with her husband about bringing a gun to work for self-defense, a decision that was taken out of her hands by the city's ban on employees carrying firearms at work, a Nixon family lawyer said. Now Nixon's family is calling for an independent investigation into events leading up to the May 31st shooting and what could have been done differently before and during it, particularly given the explicit concerns about shooter Dwayne Craddock. Kate expressed to her husband concerns about this individual in particular, as well as one other person, Nixon family attorney Kevin Martingale told WHRV's Hearsay with Kathy Lewis radio show on Monday. In fact, they had a discussion the night before about whether or not she should take a pistol and hide it in her handbag and decided not to, ultimately because there's a policy apparently against having any kind of weapons that are concealed in the building. The city of Virginia Beach prohibits employees from carrying any weapon while working or on city property unless authorized by a supervisor. The city policy notes the prohibition against possession of a weapon applies even if a member has a permit to carry a concealed weapon. An employee violating the policy would not be in violation of the law, but they would be breaking rules set by their place of employment. Employees who violate this policy will be subject to discipline up to and including dismissal, the city policy states. So pretty much, if you carry a weapon to work, you can lose your job. If you don't carry a weapon to work, in this woman's case, you lose your life. Back to it. Julie Hill, director of the communications office at Virginia Beach, said some of the city councils were considering making it illegal rather than just a policy violation if employees carried a gun at work. In Virginia, however, cities aren't allowed to make it illegal for licensed permit holders to carry, so the city council would merely be considering recommending the state allow them to impose legal penalties on such employees. There's an item on next week's city council meeting for the council to discuss a resolution to support a bill to allow localities to prohibit the carrying of firearms in governmental buildings, Hill told FoxNews.com. She also pointed out to a statement the city released about the shooting. Martingale, meanwhile, is still focused on figuring how that shooting could have been prevented in the first place. We've heard a lot of information out there suggesting there were a lot of concerns about the shooter well before this happened. He told WHRV, "We need to know more about that. An outside investigation is the perfect vehicle to get to the truth. That's it. This is a search for truth by a grieving family." Nixon was a widely respected member of the community, as Martingale noted on the radio show. She was president of her civic league. She was involved with the swim team. She would have been celebrating her 20th anniversary next month. Nixon left behind a husband and 3 young daughters. Gun rights advocates say armed citizens are important for preventing mass shootings. A so-called gun-free zone does not make people safer because the only person who will have a gun is the person who violates the policy. It's really a victim disarmament zone. Alan Gottlieb, president of the Second Amendment Foundation, told Fox News. In Virginia Beach, the murders took place in an area that required an employee key card to access, so anyone with authorization to enter was required to be disarmed. Gottlieb says he often hears from public employees who are frustrated that they cannot defend themselves at work. I get a lot of crossing my desk employees who work in state or city governments who are upset that they cannot bring a gun to work to protect themselves and want to know if their rights are being violated, he said. They contact the Second Amendment Foundation all the time. Several groups advocating more restrictions on guns didn't respond to Fox News' request for comment, but such groups have said previously the best way to prevent shootings is additional gun laws. Brady United praised Democratic Virginia Governor Ralph Northam for proposing new bans in the wake of the shooting, including action on suppressors, a ban on assault weapons, and expansion of local authority to regulate firearms. Yeah, okay. Banning suppressors, what is that going to do? And here's another thing, and this goes to show you on ignorance coming from somebody who probably knows absolutely nothing about weapons, is that, you watch movies and, somebody's, they're shooting a gun and they're wearing no ear protection and, they're firing off round after round after round after round, like John Wick. And then they put a suppressor on and then they're shooting these rounds, and like you would think that the person next to them can't hear these rounds, that they're so quiet because you put a suppressor on them. And you know what? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way because the suppressor doesn't just make everything silent. You have to be running. What kind of ammunition are you running? Are you running subsonic ammunition? Because if you're not running subsonic ammunition, it's not going to quiet. It's not going to quiet the firing of the weapon. So yeah, banning suppressors isn't going to stop anything. Banning assault weapons isn't going to stop anything because people who are using these weapons, they're not walking to the gun store to get them. So I'll move on. Brady United, in a press release, added they applauded Northam's announcement, hailing it as an opportunity for Virginia legislators to take action to prevent the next mass shooting. But Gottlieb says allowing civilians to carry is often the best line of defense against mass shootings and decried how long it's taken for Nixon's story to come out. Nobody in the media picked up on that, he said. And quite honestly, I would have assumed that I would have to assume that's agenda driven, and that a lot of people in the media believe that, firearms are evil, so they don't report on the fact that somebody wanted to have a firearm to protect themselves. Now, I believe strongly that an armed society is a respectful society, and it's not. This isn't just about guns. It's about protection, and that people wanting to be able to protect themselves. And I don't find anything wrong with that. If you don't want to carry a weapon, hey, that's fine. That's your choice. I don't have a problem with that. If you don't like weapons, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But there are people that do, and you can't just make things illegal or say nobody should have them just because you don't like them or you're afraid of them, And I think that we need to get past that. And I think as a society that we have a problem that if people don't share your thoughts or your beliefs, that they're wrong or that they're bad people, or that it's wrong for them to have a different opinion than you do. And this goes into the gun conversation as well, because you have a lot of people who have opinions about it, and you have a lot of people who don't know anything about it. You have people that are looking to make laws about weapons, and yet they don't know anything about them, or what they can do. And yes, weapons can do bad, but they could also do a lot of good. And it's important to remember that guns aren't necessarily the problem, because they're just inanimate objects until somebody does something with them, just like a car or alcohol. If alcohol sitting on a table is doing nothing to anybody, but around an alcoholic, it's dangerous. If you have a vehicle and it's sitting there, it's not doing anything. But if you have a drunk driver sitting behind it, then it's a problem. And then you have a gun sitting on a table. Sitting there, it's doing nothing. And it won't do anything until someone picks it up and grabs it and does something with it. So it's not necessarily the object. It's the people that are behind them. And we need to recognize that. And we need to understand that there are people out there that need help. And it goes beyond saying, yeah, we're gonna check this and this, and if you pass this, then you're okay. It goes beyond that, but you can't say that people can't do certain things just because it's you don't believe in it. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I'm gonna let you guys little food for thought with that. And hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So check me out, 57 Podcast. I'm on all three. If you are on Facebook, and I have a private, it's just like a Facebook group. If you'd like to join the group, shoot me a message at the 57 Podcast page. And if you, I'm very appreciative to my listeners, guys. I'm getting a lot of support from you. I am very appreciative of it. I've got a lot coming down the pipe. I'm working on this really hard, trying to give you guys better content. And I'm very appreciative of everybody who listens. And thanks, guys. Once again, give a rate and review if you can. I would greatly appreciate it. And take care of yourselves. This is Pre, out.